Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight. I'm Tracy Shilshi and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting the day's top stories from India and across the world, starting with the headlines. India and Morocco signed 5 MOUs on the second day of Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari's visit, discussing the need to expand areas of bilateral cooperation. 16 people, including 3 army men, die in a massive blaze at the arms depot in Pulgaon in Maharashtra. Army orders court of inquiry. Sabotage is not ruled out. India records growth of 7.6% in 2015-16, cements position as the world's fastest growing major economy. Congress President Sonia Gandhi hits out at the NDA government for its 2-year anniversary bash, says Narendra Modi is a prime minister, not a king. And tensions rise in Northeast Asia after North Korea makes another unsuccessful attempt at test firing a missile. Japan puts its forces on alert. On the second day of his two-nation visit, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari met with the Moroccan leadership today. The Vice President and the Moroccan Prime Minister signed 2 new MOUs in a bid to strengthen bilateral ties. Here are more details.
India and Morocco signed 2 MOUs on cultural cooperation and institutional training for foreign service officers in the presence of Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari on Tuesday. 3 other MOUs relating to water resources, television broadcasting and education were also finalized between the 2 countries. Both sides also stressed on the need for injecting fresh momentum into their bilateral relations by improving issues of economic and political stability and human resources development.
We look at Morocco as a trusted partner across a range of issues. We appreciate Morocco's support for India's candidature to expanded United Nations Security Council.
The Vice President also paid homage to Morocco's King Mohammed V. He later met the Speaker of the country's lower house of parliament, Abdelhakim Benchamas. Earlier on Monday, the Moroccan Prime Minister Abdelillah Ben Kirane welcomed Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari at the airport in capital Rabat. The visit comes in the backdrop of increasing number of attacks on African nationals in India. The Vice President condemned the incident and highlighted India's historic link to the continent.
Our government views are very clear. They are guests in the country. We have to look after them. If they are a victim for whatever reason of a law and order problem, it is the duty of the government to provide them safety. So there are no 2 views about it. We greatly value our relationship with Africa, all parts of Africa.
In the second leg of his tour, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari will visit Tunisia from June 2nd to 3rd. This is the first visit by an Indian Vice President in 50 years to the 2 countries. The Vice President's visit is part of India's efforts to build on diplomatic gains from the India-Africa Summit held in New Delhi in October last year.
Vice President on his visit has started a new cooperative relationships with Morocco. Where Morocco stands strong on water resource management and India on television broadcasting, surely the agreement will now lead to enhanced cooperative relationships. With video journalist Kawaljit and my colleague Vishal Kumar Jain, Anu Diwan from Morocco for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to the story that has been in the headlines the entire day. A massive fire broke out in Indian Army's biggest ammunition depot in Maharashtra's Pulgaon early this morning. The blaze killed 16 people, including 3 army men and 13 civilians. Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and Army Chief General Dalbir Singh Suhag visited the depot. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis expressed grief over the loss of lives.
A massive fire at Indian Army's arms and ammunition depot in Pulgaon in Maharashtra's Wardha district has resulted in the death of at least 16 people. The dead include 2 officers of the Indian Army. 17 others were injured in the fire that began at 1:30 a.m. and spread quickly to several sheds that house ammunitions, bombs and other explosives. The fire was brought under control by morning, but secondary fire and explosion was not immediately ruled out.
2 officers and 14 personnel, to include 1 Army Jawan and 13 civilian firefighting staff lost their lives, and 2 officers and 15 personnel, to include 9 Army Jawans and 6 civilian firefighting staff, got injured.
जो उसका कारण है वो कारण आर्मी की इंक्वायरी कंप्लीट होने के बाद समझ जाएगा। अभी जहां मटेरियल रखा था उसमें एक शेड में हो गया। फायर फाइटिंग के 13 लोग, 2 आर्मी के ऑफिसर और 1 जवान मिलकर 16 लोगों ने अपनी जान कुर्बान कर दी और बाकी जगह आग फैलने से बचा दिया।
The fire forced thousands of villagers in 5 adjacent villages to be evacuated.
अंगार दिखी थी यहाँ, बहुत भारी अंगार चल रही थी। अंगार के बाद में थोड़ी देर में ही बहुत बड़ा बॉम्ब स्फोट हो गया। बॉम्ब स्फोट होने के बाद हम सब जागे हो गए, घर दार छोड़ के हम लोनी की तरफ भागने दौड़ लगे।
ये 1:30 बजे की घटना है और बहुत जोर से स्फोट हुआ और बाहर मैं तो बहुत आग जलने लगी और बच्चे लेके मैं भागी। घर दरवाजा टूटा, भीति क्रैक हो गया और माटी के ढेकले हमारे सर पर पड़े।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis expressed grief over the loss of lives in the tragedy.
राज्य शासन की ओर से हमने जिलाधीश को ये कहा है कि वो स्वयं उसमें ध्यान दे। वो ध्यान दे रहे हैं। जो भी रिसोर्सेस उनको चाहिए, उन्होंने खासकर मेडिकल इंटरवेंशंस के बारे में हमको अवगत किया, वो हमने पूरा उनको दिया।
The army has ordered an inquiry into the incident and the extent of damage to defense assets is being ascertained. The Pulgaon depot is responsible for all India supply of ammunition and explosives. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
India has cemented its position as the world's fastest growing major economy, with the GDP for the fourth quarter of 2015-16 accelerating to 7.9%. And this figure takes the growth figure for the last fiscal to 7.6%. The latest data is better than consensus estimates of 7.5% growth in the fourth quarter. India maintains its lead over China, the world's second largest economy, where GDP growth slowed to a 7-year low of 6.7% between January and March 2016. The country's growth has been held back due to 2 consecutive droughts that have hit the farming sector. However, economists and market analysts are advocating caution about the current year numbers, with expectations of a flat GDP growth. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj today met a delegation of African students, assuring them of full security and support in India. During the meeting, Swaraj also condemned the killing of Congolese national M.K. Olivier, who was beaten to death following a verbal spat over hiring an auto rickshaw. She called the incident unfortunate and painful, but said that the police investigation shows it was not a racial attack. Swaraj also assured strict action against the accused in the case and said that the government is doing all it can to prevent such incidents in the future. The sudden rise in attacks on African nationals has caused widespread anger among the community. A group of African students held a protest at Jantar Mantar on Monday, and African envoys have also expressed their anguish.
एक तरफ हम भारत अफ्रीका फोरम करते हैं 54 देशों को बुलाकर, इतनी गुडविल हमारी बनती है, लेकिन इस तरह की एक घटना किया धरा पे पानी डाल देती है। तो इस तरह की घटनाएं हम स्वीकार नहीं करेंगे। ये हमारा पहला प्रोग्राम है स्टूडेंट्स के साथ मीटिंग का। दूसरा प्रोग्राम जिसकी शुरुआत हमने दिल्ली में कर दी है और हम बाकी स्टेट्स को भी परामर्शी एक एडवाइजरी भेज रहे हैं कि वो भी ये करें कि हम हर उस एरिया में जहां अफ्रीकी ज्यादा रहते हैं उसको सेंसिटाइज करेंगे, वहां एक जन जागरण करेंगे, ऐसी घटनाएं ना हो इसकी कोशिश करेंगे। तो एक बहुत बड़ी कार्य योजना हमने बनाई है, और इसके साथ साथ मैं ये भी चाहती हूँ कि हम कोई ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशनल मैकेनिज्म, ऐसी कोई व्यवस्था खड़ी कर दें जिसके कारण ये घटनाएं हो ही नहीं।
Congress President Sonia Gandhi today reacted strongly to reports of alleged links of her son-in-law Robert Vadra with an arms dealer. She said that her family was being targeted every day as part of a well-planned conspiracy. She also expressed displeasure over the government's 2-year celebrations at India Gate, saying that the Prime Minister has begun to behave like a king.
मैंने कभी ऐसा नहीं देखा। प्रधानमंत्री एक प्रधानमंत्री है, शहंशाह नहीं है। देश में जब अभी भी गरीबी है, सूखा है, किसान परेशान है, तो इस तरह की शो सेटअप करना मुझे लगता मुनासिब नहीं है।
Congress President Sonia Gandhi castigating the Modi government over its 2-year anniversary celebrations. Speaking to media persons in Raebareli, the Congress President said Prime Minister Narendra Modi was behaving like a Shahenshah. She also alleged that allegations against her son-in-law Robert Vadra were part of a larger conspiracy of the BJP against the Congress party.
ये भी एक षड्यंत्र है। कांग्रेस मुक्त भारत का मतलब क्या है? रोज कुछ न कुछ ये लोग बहाना बनाते हैं, गलत इल्जाम लगाते हैं। अगर कुछ ऐसी बात है तो बिना भेदभाव जांच करो, दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी।
This government has mastered the art of selectively leaking some document or manufacturing and fabricating papers and giving it to some select few in the media to defame and to target.
The BJP was quick to retort, both in defending the Prime Minister and questioning the Congress party's stand on corruption charges against Robert Vadra.
Who other than Gandhis can be called as the Shahenshah? They have been ruling this country as if this country was their fiefdom. As far as Prime Minister Mr. Modi is concerned, he is a poor man. He is a chaiwala who has risen gradually because of his hard work, because of the blessings of the people of India. He has become the Prime Minister. And it's but natural when a poor man becomes the Prime Minister of the country, it is very difficult for the dynasts to digest it.
Now it proves that the allegation on Robert Vadra is not the personal allegation on any person, but it is on entire Congress party. That's why the Congress president has came openly in defense of that.
Robert Vadra is being probed after income tax raids on controversial arms dealer Sanjay Bhandari revealed alleged links between the two and cryptic references to a London property. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In a bid to woo voters ahead of the UP Assembly election in 2017, BJP President Amit Shah on Tuesday addressed a farmers' rally in Allahabad. While addressing villagers, Shah highlighted schemes launched by the Modi government, specifically those for farmers and the common man. On his way to Allahabad, in fact, the BJP president also had lunch with a Dalit family in a village in Sevapuri Assembly segment in the PM's Lok Sabha constituency.
एक ऐसी सरकार देने का काम किया है, वो लोग पढ़ते हैं तो प्रधानमंत्री किसानों के साथ खड़े होते हैं, प्रधानमंत्री किसानों के साथ खड़े रहते हैं। नीट का सवाल खड़ा होता है तो विद्यार्थियों के साथ खड़े होते हैं और समस्या का समाधान करे, ऐसा एक प्रधानमंत्री देने का काम भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने किया है।
The National Green Tribunal has rejected the Art of Living Foundation's plea to pay the compensation of 4.75 crore rupees by bank guarantee. The fine was imposed on the foundation of violation of environment norms during the World Culture Festival event organized in March this year. Rejecting the foundation's appeal, the NGT has ordered AOL to pay up the remaining amount within a week. The tribunal also slapped a fine of 5,000 rupees on the foundation for filing applications which are not bona fide. Earlier in March, the NGT had allowed the foundation to organize a 3-day World Culture Festival but had imposed a fine of 5 crore rupees on the basis of a committee report. The report had found widespread violation of environmental laws during the festival held on the ecologically fragile Yamuna floodplains. The AOL had deposited 25 lakh rupees in its 3-week time period to pay the balance amount expired in April.
We had moved an application for replacing or for furnishing a bank guarantee of the balance amount, and that application has been dismissed. We are weighing our options and we still have to have a look at the judgment. So we will read the judgment and then consider what we need to do, including maybe approach the Supreme Court.
And now let's take you through some more national news updates in Nationwide. The last day of filing nominations for the biennial Rajya Sabha election saw several political leaders file their papers. Suresh Prabhu and Y.S. Chaudhary filed their nominations from Andhra Pradesh. Former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram and former Maharashtra Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan to file the nominations from the state. Former Union Home Minister Sushil Kumar Shinde, Leader of Opposition in the State Assembly, Radhakrishna V.K. Patil and other party leaders too filed their nominations. Admiral Sunil Lamba took over as the new Chief of Naval Staff. He succeeds Admiral R.K. Dhawan. 58-year-old Admiral Nanba, a specialist in navigation and direction, will have a full 3-year tenure as the Navy Chief. Admiral Nanba is a recipient of the Param Vashisht Seva Medal and the Ati Vashisht Seva Medal for distinguished services. Ashok Lavasa has been appointed the Finance Secretary. He is a 1980 batch IS officer of the Haryana cadre. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet approved Lavasa's appointment after an order was issued by the Department of Personnel and Training. %1 tax on cash purchase of gold jewellery has been rolled back. Jewellery-related stocks came into focus after the government rolled back its decision to apply the tax collection at source and also raise the threshold to the earlier 5 lakh rupees with effect from the 1st of June. The decision is expected to boost demand for gold jewellery. Sri Lankan Navy has arrested 7 fishermen from Tamil Nadu for allegedly fishing in their territorial waters. The arrest came on the first day of fishermen resuming their work after the end of the 45-day-long annual ban on fishing using mechanized boats during the fish breeding season. With that, a quick break here. We'll be back with the international news in a bit.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries. Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m.
Saina Nehwal, the first Indian to win a medal in badminton at the Olympics. The world #2 ranked player is also the first Indian to win the World Junior Badminton Championships and the first Indian to win a Super Series tournament. Saina Nehwal in fact completed a hat-trick Super Series titles in 2010. That same year, she became the first Indian singles player to reach the final of the year-ending Super Series finals, defeating 2-time All-England champion and former world #1 Tine Bown in the semis.
Welcome back. Let's get to some international news now. And tension in Northeast Asia continues to grow after North Korea's latest attempt to test fire a missile failed on Tuesday. Following the unsuccessful launch, South Korea and Japan have put their security forces on alert.
Adding to a string of recent unsuccessful launches, North Korea's attempt to test fire a ballistic missile failed once again, the 4th time this year. South Korean Defense Ministry said Pyongyang attempted to fire a missile from its east coast early on Tuesday, but it likely exploded soon after ignition. North Korea had earlier attempted 3 test launches of the intermediate range missile in April, all of which had failed.
북한은 오늘 05시 20분경 원산 지역에서 불상 미사일 한 발 발사를 시도하였고 현재 우리 군은 실패한 것으로 추정하고 있습니다.
The most recent launch follows South Korea's rejection of an offer of talks from the north. Japan, meanwhile, has put its anti-ballistic missile forces on alert after detecting signs of launches and has ordered its naval destroyers and anti-ballistic missile batteries to be ready.
万全の体制を取る、そういう観点から自衛隊にも必要な体制を取らせておりますけれども、その具体的な対応については控えたいと思います。
Tension in Northeast Asia has been high since North Korea conducted its 4th nuclear test in January and followed that with a satellite launch and test launches of various missiles. North Korea's only major ally, China, has called for the cessation of any action that would aggravate tension in the North Korean peninsula. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Iraqi forces on Tuesday continued the 2nd day of their assault to retake the city of Fallujah from the Islamic State group. The latest reports indicate that IS militants are putting up a fierce resistance. Meanwhile, fears of the safety of thousands of civilians trapped inside the city are also increasing.
Iraqi forces battling their way into Fallujah repelled a 4-hour attack by Islamic State fighters in the city's south on Tuesday. The attack reportedly began at dawn in Nuaymiyah area in southern Fallujah, where Iraqi troops captured almost 85% of the ground on Monday. IS militants used tunnels, deployed snipers and sent 6 explosive-laden cars to hit the troops. The battle came a day after Iraqi military and militia forces entered the city with the help of US-led coalition airstrikes. Though the morale of the government forces is high, the Fallujah operation has come at a human cost. An estimated 50,000 civilians remain trapped in the crossfire.
عايشين على التمرات الخاثرة واشترينا الكيلو والشكر ب50 وب40 وب30 واخير ماكو بطلناه ما عاد نشربه ما خل فردنا بقطعوها ويانا حيل مو زينه يريدون نرجع وياهم نمشي وياهم احنا ما مشينا وياهم والله عادتنا.
The Iraqi army launched its operation to recover Fallujah a week ago. The US-led coalition and Iranian-backed Shiite paramilitary forces are helping the Iraqi army. Meanwhile, the Iraqi parliament held a meeting to seek support for the Fallujah military operation and humanitarian relief.
البرلمان العراقي كممثلين عن الشعب دعما سياسيا لتلك القوات نراها ضمن واجبنا الوطني. اليوم أكدنا كل الكتل وكل المكونات بما فيها الكرد السنة والشيعة والعرب كل مكونات الشعب العراقي أكدنا هذا الدعم وسنبقى مساندين للقوات المقاتلة.
Fallujah is Islamic State's closest bastion to Baghdad, captured over 2 years ago. It is believed to be the base from which the group has plotted an escalating campaign of suicide bombings against Shiite civilians. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now for other international news updates, let's get you Global Buzz. Taliban militants killed at least 16 people after kidnapping dozens of bus passengers near the city of Kunduz in northern Afghanistan. 2 buses were stopped and more than 185 passengers seized by armed gunmen. 160 of them were freed by security forces, but the rest were gunned down by the militants. The buses were traveling from Kabul to Badakhistan in northeastern Afghanistan, when they were stopped by the Taliban members who had set up a roadblock. According to the 3rd Global Slavery Index, nearly 46 million people are living as slaves globally, with the greatest number in India. The highest prevalence of slavery, though, has been reported in North Korea. The index was released by the Australia-based human rights group Walk Free Foundation, which based its survey on sectors of domestic work, construction, sex industries, agriculture, fishing, manufacturing, manual labor and forced begging. North Korea, Uzbekistan, Cambodia, India and Qatar are the top 5 countries on the list. One of Europe's wealthiest villages has decided to pay a whopping £200,000 as fine instead of accepting around 10 refugees under its country's newly imposed quota. Residents in the picturesque Swiss village of Oberwil-Lilly said that they voted no in a referendum on whether to accept the refugees. The move comes after the Swiss government announced a quota system to meet its promise of allowing 50,000 asylum seekers into the country. The number of Afghans internally displaced by conflict has doubled to 1.2 million in just 3 years. The Amnesty International has warned that a lack of basic services is putting people on the brink of survival, adding that the condition of people uprooted from their homes in Afghanistan has deteriorated in recent years as global attention and aid money have been diverted to other crises. And now let's change tracks. Get you all the latest from the world of sports in Sports. 3-time champion Saina Nehwal has entered the second round of the Indonesia Open badminton tournament in Jakarta today. He defeated Pai Yupo of Chinese Taipei in 3 games, 21-11, 19-21, 21-15. Saina will next take on Indonesian Fitriani on Wednesday. However, the Indian pair of Manu Atri and Ashwini Ponnappa lost to Singapore combo of Yongkai Terihi and Wei Han Tan in the mixed doubles category. The Indian women's hockey team lost 1-4 against New Zealand in their opening match of the Four-Nation tournament at Darwin in Australia today. New Zealand took the lead in the second quarter through a Pippa Hayward's goal in the 18th minute. Later, Anita McLaren and Petria Webster scored a goal each to seal the win for the Kiwis. India's consolation goal came through Anuradha Devi Thokto. Former team director of the Indian cricket team, Ravi Shastri, thinks that it is the right time for Virat Kohli to take over captaincy from Mahendra Singh Dhoni in all three formats of the game. While speaking to a private news channel, Shastri admitted that it would be a tough call to make, but added that he would definitely think of naming Kohli as skipper if he would have been a chief selector. He further clarified that Dhoni can still contribute as a player. In the French Open, the Indo-Polish pair of Leander Paes and Martin Matkowski will play the doubles quarterfinal match today against the fifth-seeded Bryan brothers of the US. In the mixed doubles, second-seeded pair of Sania Mirza and Croatian Ivan Dodig will clash with the French pair of Alize Cornet and Jonathan Eserich in the second round. The trial of Argentina and Barcelona footballer Lionel Messi on tax fraud charges began in Spain on Tuesday. Messi and his father are accused of defrauding Spain of more than 4 million euros between 2007 and 2009. The authorities allege that the two used tax havens in Belize and Uruguay to conceal earnings from image rights. And that's all we have for you in the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night.